Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Broome Town Council Planning Committee meeting this evening of the 21st of July. Sorry. My name is Steve Tanner. I'll be chairing this evening's meeting. So we want to make our meetings available to as many people as possible, regardless of where they are. So we're using a hybrid setup of here in person at the town hall and online via Zoom. For those in the room, the usual housekeeping, the emergency exit is to the rear, assembly point is in the car park, the toilets can be accessed at the end of the corridor, accessible toilet to the right hand side. Any panelists on Zoom, please use the electronic raise hand by clicking on the participants button at the bottom of your screen. For those in the room, please raise your hand. Any attendees on Zoom, please post questions through the Q&A board. Attendees' names will become visible on the questions board for the record as your question is answered. For those attendees in the room, please raise your hand. Tonight, Jane will clerk and Hannah will manage the questions board and participant settings. The meeting is being recorded for minuting purposes, and we also will live stream to our YouTube channel. So, agenda item number 1, questions, comments, information from public or councillors. Thank you. Agenda item number 2, to agree the apologies of absence received for the 30th of June meeting. Fiona Burrows, Polly Lamb and Phil Campagna. Someone could pose that for me. Thank you, Mark. Someone second. Thank you. That's great. It's because we didn't do it, isn't it? Item number 3, to agree the apologies of absence received for the 21st July 2022 meeting, i.e. this one. We have apologies from Annie Jones and Phil Campagna. Someone could propose that for me, please. It's one of you two. So. Thank you. Great. Item number 4, any declaration of members' interests? No. Right, moving on. Item number 5, to agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of June.
Yep, so the last
right. Agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of June. Someone propose that? Thank you. I'm going to second that. Okay, thank you very much. To note the minutes of the informal. Item number 6, to note the minutes of the informal meeting held on the 30th of June, due not to be called. So we don't vote on that then?
No, they're just informal, but the next bit, you'll ratify the responses from that meeting. So
right, item number 7 on the agenda, to ratify the responses for the planning applications that went to planning committee on the 30th of June. Due to the meeting not being quorum, and as per standing orders, the authority to delegated to Jane Llewellyn in conjunction with Steve Tanner as chair to make the decisions.
Okay, so just need a vote on that so that you have the responses.
Thank you. Right. Item number 8, to consider the major plan applications received. Appendix number 1. Over to Jane.
Thank you very much. So the first application that we're going to discuss is number 34 on our list, and it's 62 Christchurch Street East. Just bear with me while I share my screen. Okay, so the proposal is for the erection of a 2-storey side extension. We thought we would bring this one up for discussion just because of its location, really. And so I'm sure most of you will recognise this. It's opposite the, so it's Christchurch Street East, opposite the school, on the other side of the road. And the red line here shows you the actual site. The plan here at the top shows the current layout of the property. You can see that there's a 1-storey extension here already. What they intend to do is to knock down the conservatory and then put a 2-storey extension in its place. It is a similar footprint, but obviously it will have an additional storey on the top, and there's a small alteration at the back here. The main reason they want to do that is because actually the current layout of the property isn't very usable as a family home. The bathroom is on the ground floor, and I've just put this picture up just to give you a better impression of where it is. And I think you'll all be aware of this bit here when you get there. It's very, very narrow. One of the reasons for showing you that is the company that run the new business units next door are concerned that when the building works take place, where will construction vehicles park? Because this property doesn't actually have any parking of its own. And there is an area of land here where vehicles tend to park, but it's actually within the ownership of this office block, and they're concerned that that's going to cause problems for them. It wasn't an objection, it's just been noted as a concern. And then lastly, just to show you so here you can see the existing elevation, the conservatory, and this is what they're proposing to replace it with the 2 stories. So from the street view, let me just go back to this. Essentially, you will be able to, you can't currently see the existing conservatory, but you will be able to see that the first floor here. Although that said, it might look bulky, but if you weigh that up against the height of this office block next to it, I don't really think it's a problem. So it was just really I think it was one that Steve had highlighted that he would like to discuss. I think my only comment would be that if you're happy to recommend an approval for that one, that we might want to ask for some kind of construction management plan so that the business next door can be assured that it won't impact on them. And obviously, given how very narrow it is at that point, we can ensure that it's not going to cause traffic issues.
You're right. One would hope that they could agree something to do that. I don't think the offices are occupied at the moment, are they?
I don't think they are, no.
Is there any overlooking issues? I mean, the office will overlook the new building. Behind it, it's that new crescent of houses, isn't it?
Just here.
Yeah.
Here, isn't it?
Yeah. And the new premises will be below their level, I would have thought. So if anything, they're going to
They will
overlook the
be
new
over-
building.
Yeah.
But, the applicants are obviously not worried about that.
Well,
Have the applicant spoken to some builders already that have a plan?
we wouldn't have that information available to us. So I think that's really why it would just be advisable for us
Batting
to.
it back
Yeah.
at the moment to say you've got to come up with something good. I mean, my concern is the traffic for the school, not so much for the business.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe
Mm.
a condition that there isn't deliveries until or between set times when the school either opens or
Because there are
you know,
already
morning
double
and
yellows on
afternoon.
the little lane opposite. What's it called? Blood Axe Lane, or there's a strange name to it. I know local residents ask for those to be repainted every now and again because that's really rammed at school time.
and that's a real pinch point, isn't it,
It is.
on Christchurch Street? Where
And there's no footpath on that side. And
that was the reason I thought we should. I mean, not the actual building itself. I thought it was actually a good,
no problem with that.
yeah, bringing a reasonably, sort of house back into, a family home.
Yeah.
But it is that pinch point. I wonder if that hedge could be trimmed back a bit. That might give you another couple of feet. But
Potential timing restrictions on deliveries.
Deliveries.
Could that
Yeah.
something go in?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we can certainly ask that be considered. And I think, as you quite rightly say, given that the school is opposite, particularly during drop off and pick up times, just to make sure that there's no obstruction to traffic at those times, I think would be really important.
that wasn't an objection from my perspective. It was just more
It's
of
just observations.
an
really,
observation.
yeah. And
Absolutely.
it's worth pointing out to the,
Yeah.
I'm sure the applicant's aware of this, but worth pointing out to the applicant and specifically their contractor.
Okay, so is everybody happy
Yep.
to agree that as a response?
His response.
Fine.
You have to propose that. Someone propose it. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Polly. What about as well?
Okay, and that's the majority. Thank you. So the next application highlighted for discussion is number 41 on our list, which is 27 Cranmore View. Bear with me while I get to the right plans. So we've actually seen this application before, and it was approved. And it's for the construction of a single-storey detached dwelling with parking and associated works. Actually, what's missing from that description is the fact that a row of existing garages will be demolished to enable that to happen. So I just want to refer you back to the previous plan that was approved to show you the layout. And you can see that it actually takes in all the land right up to the corner there. After it was approved, there was quite a lot of correspondence between people, neighbours, who were really concerned about the impact that that was going to have, because what it would mean is that this area of footpath here with the drop curb would be lost. So anybody who was walking around the corner, actually that would be quite dangerous. People with mobility issues wouldn't actually be able to get up onto the pavement in the first place. And so I believe partly as a result of that, the layout has now been amended, and you'll see that this area here is retained as a footpath, and with the drop curb area as well. So it will be safer for people walking around the corner. And I think there was also some problem about how tight the bend was with emergency vehicles and such going around. There was one comment from a neighbour in response to this application who didn't object to the building, but they wanted it to be moved back so that the drop curb wasn't lost. But I don't think that's the case here. I think this plan actually overcomes that. So I just really brought that one up to highlight that I think this will overcome the issues with the first application.
So the drop curb is still there now, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
It wasn't on the previous one.
It wasn't on the previous application, and you lost quite a significant amount of footpath going around the corner.
So we're happy that this is an improvement on the original plan.
Yeah.
I have no problem with it.
Fine with that.
So we're happy to go with no objection on that one.
To vote that. I'll propose. Yep, good.
Thank you, and that's a majority. The next one highlighted for discussion is number 42 on our list, which is 4 Keyford Terrace. So you can see, the description is for internal alteration works and repairs to include the creation of a WC on the ground floor, external minor repairs, and the demolition of the existing rear kitchen extension, replaced with a ground floor kitchen and a first floor bathroom. So here, excuse me, here you can see the existing floor footprint of the building. And here you can see the proposed footprint. It wasn't immediately obvious when I looked at this initially, looking at the elevation. When you look at the section plans, so you can see the existing kitchen area here. This is the next door property. This is a sort of a single story bit that comes to here. And then they have their 2 stories here. There is a letter from the neighbour at number 5, who is concerned that when particularly this first floor element is built, it's going to block out a significant amount of light from their ground floor kitchen windows and some of the light that goes to this window here, which I believe is a bedroom. And I have to say, I think they're right, because if you look at the amount of shadow that is going to cast, it will block out a significant amount of light.
Sorry, Jane, can you repeat what it's adding?
So they're adding they're doing some internal works on the ground floor. What's going on is this.
As far as living space, I mean, inside the house. What?
Yeah.
Yes.
I expect the bathrooms are past the kitchen at the moment.
Yeah.
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 So we'll be moving the bathroom upstairs.
Yeah.
So it's
Bringing the kitchen straight.
extra living space rather than extra bedroom.
So the rear extension will be replaced with a ground floor kitchen and a first floor bathroom. So yes, it will be the bathroom that's being moved upstairs, hence this first floor element here.
So the people next door have already done that.
The people next door have already done it. Yeah, I mean, that was my first thought. So we did actually walk along the rear of the properties this afternoon just to see whether or not we could establish whether, you know, there are windows here that would be blocked, but unfortunately you can't see. There's quite a high wall at the back and you can't see
I
over.
see the neighbours have done it, but many others on the terrace done it.
No, it didn't appear to be. No,
Okay.
no.
Not that we could see, I mean, from the walls that were there, you sort of had to peer over, which obviously I couldn't. But yeah, it was only one, I think, or that had done it.
So is there anything that you think of that they can do to mitigate this light issue? Or is it just,
It's difficult to actually ascertain how much light is going to be lost. I mean, you know, what we just, you really need to go into the back gardens and into the property to determine exactly how much light's going to be lost. You just can't tell from the front, and you really can't tell from the back because you can only sort of look up and over.
My suggestion would be that we note the comments from the neighbour at number 5 and ask the planning officer to assess those impacts on site when they make their site visit, because as I say, you know, we couldn't actually determine that ourselves, and you know, I think they do have a genuine concern, but just ask that it be looked at, I think.
Yeah,
I'm okay, thank you. Yeah, it's lingering, I'm afraid.
can we stay neutral on that?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Is that, I mean, part of me is thinking, well, next door have done it, even though they're sort of objecting, they've already done it, so they got in first, you know. But obviously, if it is going to block out an awful lot of light, then that's sort of quite a lot of, you know, big loss of amenity, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, rather than saying we object, we can say that, you know, we are concerned about the potential impacts that it will have on number 5, and
Once we get the officer's report,
yeah,
we can.
Yeah.
More definitive.
yeah, absolutely. If you're
doing it
Number
for the medium
4.
line?
Number 4, if they wanted to go through, she'd invite number 5 round to see how number 3 affects number 4.
Right.
And then they'd know.
Bear that in mind.
Cup of tea.
Right, so we okay to sort of be neutral on that one, subject to what Jane said. I'll propose that.
okay, thank you. So I hadn't specifically highlighted any others for discussion, although you may like to note the comments from the Civic Society about number 39 on our list, which is Unit 1, the old post office, which you probably know as Superdrug. And they were concerned that the increase in the lettering on the signage and the increase in the size of the hanging sign was an issue. So I don't know whether you'd like to discuss that one in more detail.
Mark.
Yeah, I mean, last time we saw TSB were doing a
TSB,
similar thing, weren't they? So it seems to be, I mean, the Civic Society have pointed it out, and I'm sure they have a point, that signs are getting bigger and brighter.
So
That's as it is and as it wants to be.
yeah, so this is the existing sign.
So it looks big. I mean, the script is bigger, even if the area isn't,
Yeah, there's
which presumably is lit, and that's not.
no, they're not proposing any additional illumination. So yeah, was the concern about the increase in the size of the text. The actual fascia sign itself remains the same size, and then in addition to that, you can see the hanging sign here, just about and I've done it slightly larger section for you. So this is the proposed hanging sign. And because they haven't done an existing and a proposed of that elevation, but you can see this is the position and size of the existing one, looking at it from the front of the fascia. And this is the proposed one. So whilst it won't actually be it won't hang any lower, it will start
Takes up the
further
whole
up.
of the fascia.
Yeah, it takes up the whole of the fascia.
Yeah. I would be more, I thought it was lit, so that was, because that was one of the issues with the TSB one, wasn't it? I think that is an issue now, that, for example, the B&Q place, I think
Yeah.
we asked that they turn their lights out at close of play, but it still seemed to be blazing.
Right,
through the night.
orange. Oh,
It's
that
really
was,
bright and
it
really
is very
orange.
bright.
People who live there.
Yeah.
Some of whom have had a word with me about it and said, could we ask them to tone it down a bit? I'm not overly worried about this. I would be if it were lit, but
I would be more worried about it if the pavement wasn't so wide and it was, potentially obstructing some visual, but there's nothing there that it could obstruct. I don't think anyone will notice this.
I've got no
Sure.
issues with it either, I must admit. Just a slight rebranding as far as I was concerned.
Okay.
No issues with that? About that one. Great.
Okay, thank you. So unless anybody would like to raise any of the others specifically for discussion, then we will, if you're happy, we will return no objection on all of the others that we haven't discussed. Okay,
Thank you.
and that's majority. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, unanimous for 3 of you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jane. I think that's it for tonight. Short and sweet. And the next planning meeting is on the 11th of August, 2022. So